Steve, you're watching Going Viral. Today is the 30th of July, right here at the end of the month in 2025. And I'm broadcasting right now from the main square at Columbia University in New York. Well, not really, but at least in the digital reality I am. So take a moment here and we'll come back as soon as some of the participants start arriving. Hello. Okay, this is a real estate company, right? Yeah, and you're the guy I wanted to talk to sometime, but right now I'm going into a Zoom meeting that I have on Wednesdays. And then well, maybe we could talk tomorrow. Let me take a look at my calendar. There, 1 second. Calendar. I'm just trying to see if I've got anything going on there. Sound like an important person. No, tomorrow's the 31st. Oh, I don't know. You could call in the morning or something. We're not going to sell or anything. Right now I'm going in for medical cycles and stuff like that. And we're going to be going to New York in September. How's the business? Is the things going up or down? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Give me a call at any time after 10 a.m.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Okay. Bye-bye. Gotta let some meeting started.
What's up, man? Um, how
Hey,
you,
Jim.
how you
Hello.
today? How are you? Oh boy, look at that backdrop. What the hell's that?
Oh, what is it? It should look familiar to you.
What? It's I don't know. Was it New York?
No, it's Columbia University.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because in Zoom it had a button on the backgrounds, generate a background with AI.
Move your head a little bit. Move your head a little bit. Let me see. That sure as hell doesn't look like Columbia. My God.
Well, that's it. That's Columbia
No,
Main
no, no,
Square.
no. It's not Columbia University.
Well,
That's
that's what.
no, that's not how it looks, Betty. But anyway, it's sort of weird. I mean, anyway, don't worry about it.
Yeah, I. It's a fun thing. It's just a fun thing that you have from Zoom.
Oh, you did
You
an
know.
AI generated backdrop?
Yeah, you tell it.
Oh,
You could say the Rio de Janeiro Christ figure, whatever you want.
oh, okay. All right. Interesting.
It's under background.
Interesting. Yeah, the amazing AI is very interesting to play with.
Yeah. Oh, you know what I just heard or saw a note, a news thing. Um, Somebody's paying New York Times $25 million or something like that to use their database for AI.
Hmm.
See, so that's starting in now where people are saying, no, you can't just scan through my files to answer people's questions. You got to pay for that privilege, like copyright.
Well, that's the big funny thing with ChatGPT. They basically were able to rip off all the illegally taken books in Libgen, which number millions and millions, and they use that as their database for creating ChatGPT. But then the companies that were pirated are now suing ChatGPT because they're saying, "Hey, you guys are using our pirated information. You got to pay for the use of it."
Right.
Um,
Well, it's sometimes things start like that. So, somebody invents a car and then say, well, we got to pave the road, so we're going to have to tax you and tax the gasoline. We didn't realize this because, you first started driving, you went on the horse trails and so forth, Hey, here's Emily came. So just for tonight's stuff, well, let me start this.
that's Amy.
Oh, I
She's
am reading. Amy E.
Amy E.
Hi, Amy. And the only things I had was I didn't have too much I picked, but I did have something I wanted to talk about. And unfortunately, I don't know if I could find the video.
Hi, Amy. How are you today?
Doing good. I will need to drop off for a minute. I have a grocery order coming, but I'm excited for today's call.
Oh, good. Thank you. Well, is there any topic you'd like us to talk about today that you think would be interesting?
No, I think isn't today gonna cover the wars?
That's going to be tomorrow and Friday.
Oh, okay.
This is
Yeah,
totally different. We'll probably go back through the kind of stuff we were talking about yesterday.
all right. Yeah, those are good.
Because there's lots of ammo to talk about today about Epstein.
There's a lot of ammo daily on
Yes, indeed, indeed,
our administration.
indeed, indeed, indeed.
Amy, when you get back from the grocery order, can you turn your camera on?
Um, yes, for a moment. My dogs are on my lap and all over the
Oh,
place.
that's fine. The dogs are allowed to attend.
Okay.
The dogs
I
look
take
good.
these calls on my couch in front of a TV that sometimes has YouTube for dogs on it and
Oh,
dogs jumping all
YouTube,
over me.
YouTube designed to promote to dogs to watch it.
yeah.
Yeah, they have soft music and dogs that can are just running around and playing and stuff. And
Well,
sometimes my puppy will watch, sometimes she's determined to be up in my face.
what kind
Okay.
of dogs do you have, Amy?
I have they're both really mutts, but one is a mini sheepadoodle. She's young, she's under 2 years old, and then I have a powder puff Chinese crested mix
Oh,
who is 14 and completely blind. So she's
oh,
quiet. She's not going to jump on me, at least for a while.
oh, good for
The
you.
puppy will be all over the place.
I mean, such pedigree. I got an image of these dogs are wearing uniforms or something like royalty. Do you have
Yeah,
them dressed up?
no. Here, I'll turn on my camera for a minute so you can see what happens to be sitting on me right this
Ah,
moment.
there we
Oh, look
go.
at that dog. Oh, yeah. Okay. How you doing, doggy?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
she's busy. She's a puppy and she's a lot. So she's very cute, but she's a lot.
Right, right, right. Yeah. Well, they always like to get into things. So always want to say hello and get involved.
Yep, definitely.
Um,
Okay. I hope you get what you were looking forward to from the grocery list. What do you
I
got?
hope so.
Is it getting delivered? Is it getting delivered?
Yeah, it's gonna be delivered and it's like 97 degrees outside right now. So they're gonna leave it in front of my garage and I'm gonna have to go grab it so everything doesn't go bad.
I
oh
see you're on the East Coast, I guess.
no,
I'm West Coast, so I'm mountain time in Utah.
Oh, in Utah. Okay. Yeah, we get at our I live in LA, but we get from a company called Fresh Farm to You, something like
Oh,
that.
nice.
It's an organic food, and they drop it off every 2 weeks.
Very
It's
nice.
good. It's yeah,
Yeah,
except that the new universe we live in, invented by Bayos. What's his first name? John. You know, the guy who runs Amazon. It
mm-hmm.
is getting flooded with an overabundance of cardboard. There's just so much more cardboard everywhere now because
It's
everything's
true.
getting shipped. You know,
It is
oh,
true.
that guy's happy. That's the thing about dogs. They're generally happy, wagging their
Yeah,
tail.
she's a good kid. I named her Charlie, so sometimes I call her a boy or a girl, but it's a girl and she's a very sweet dog. She's a puppy. And
oh, she's a puppy. Oh, good for her.
puppies are busy. Hey, stop, please.
Well, dogs are a lot of fun.
Yeah.
They are. Yeah.
Okay. Hey, let's. Jim, do you know Julie? Hi, Julie. Julie's here now.
Julie's also. These are all folks that have come recently.
hmm
And Julie's from Florida.
Yes, I
Oh,
am. Hi, how are you guys doing?
Okay. What's the temperature down there? Is it like New York?
Surface of the sun, give or take. It's been between 110 and 120 with the heat index this week.
Oh my God. Oh, 110, 120. Oh my God.
Yeah,
That's a
right
lot.
next to, and I'm about 30, 40 minutes away from that facility where they have no AC.
Is this on the east or west coast of Florida?
The whole state.
The whole state, even like Tampa and Clearwater is,
Hmm.
wow.
Tampa just
Right.
had their first over 100 absolute temperature day.
Oh
Good.
my. Oh
Yep,
my.
it's been absolutely brutal. But we have air conditioning, and so far it's holding out. So, knock
Yeah.
on wood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was hot today in New York, Kenny.
Yeah, I know.
It's actually rained a little bit today. It's supposed to rain tomorrow.
How bad was it up there?
Oh, it's disgusting. It was about 100 degrees. It's disgusting when it gets
Oh,
like that.
Well,
Uh,
in New York, it's bad because everything it radiates off of all of the
exactly.
surfaces.
Yeah, it's like an oven, and I mean, I live in an area which is not particularly built up compared to Manhattan,
Mhm.
but it stinks anyway. It's hot as hell, and you just feel this all-encompassing heat. But it's not like being in the South. In the South with that humidity, boy, that can really get you.
Well, I remember, if I remember correctly, I used to work in Manhattan. I worked right across from the Flatiron Building, and it was absolutely brutal
Oh yeah,
going through, just even going through the tunnels. I used to take the bus in to the Port Authority, and just the tunnels from it was like the NR all the way over to the Port Authority station were just absolutely brutal. Being on the subway with everybody crammed in there
right.
during rush hour, yeah. I mean, at least here we're spread out and we've got air, and you
Yeah,
know we can hibernate over the summer months.
absolutely. No, it stinks. That part of New York stinks.
Well, down there, what part of Florida you in? You said it's east and west, the same temperature. Where are you?
Oh, I'm right near Boca Raton. I'm right on the line between Boca and Deerfield Beach.
Okay,
Like
Boca
Boca
Raton.
is, yeah, Boca is the
So
next street over from
as
me.
the temperature goes up, does the number of mosquitoes increase or decrease?
Oh no, it's absolutely increased. They're all over the place right now, and our
Oh, I
neighborhood is full
lost
of
you.
canals.
No,
Oh, can you hear me?
something happened.
Can you hear me
Okay.
now or no?
It was an embarrassing question. I don't know.
No, I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Do you
I
know?
can
Anybody
hear
know
you.
what happens there?
I can hear you, Julie. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear everybody.
Does anybody hear me? Jim, do you hear me?
I hear you. You can't hear me? I can hear you, Kenny.
I think he might have lost his sound.
Right. Yeah,
'Cause I can hear everybody.
I mean, Carolyn came on for a second and she bounced off. Is your
Was
sound down?
she was with one of the education unions as well? Was that the same gal I'm
Yes,
thinking
yes,
of?
that was, yeah, but I don't think she sometimes has problems with her internet connection.
Ah, gotcha.
Kenny,
Wow,
can you hear
that was
me?
a whole thing about Boca Raton. Jim, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah,
Say something.
you can hear me, can't you? Can't you hear me, Kenny?
I don't know. My sound is off. I don't know
Your sound
why.
is off. 1 2 3 1 2 3. Your sound is off. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Let me
I think
check.
his sound just might be.
Okay, it was just my headphones that were off. So,
Oh, there we go. Can you hear us?
I hear you. So
Oh, good. Excellent.
And
Julie, did you?
Julie came on. Joan's on. How you doing, Joan? Can you hear me, Joan? You can hear me, right, Kenny?
Yeah, I hear you.
All right.
You know who was here for a minute from
Carolyn.
Carol Burden? Yeah.
Carolyn was on, but she bounced out for a minute. I guess she'll come back. Um,
I know what's wrong. These headphones are no good.
yeah, the headphones screw up.
Yeah, I got another set. There we go. So that's Boca Raton, right? Yeah, well, it's kind
Yep.
of tough. It's kind of tough out here in LA. We just hit the high for the day. It's 75, but I think it's
Oh,
going to cool
terrible.
off right now.
And it's dry out there, right? It's not
Yeah,
100% humidity.
absolutely.
Yeah, it's a tough life. Well, and I always bring it up on these calls, but it is very, this year in particular, I'm noticing how bad the weather is. because I'm about 30 minutes closer to the coast, which makes it more bearable because just the way that the weather systems are in the middle of the state, it always gets more hot and more humid. And with the dangerous weather that we've had this week, and they're telling everybody stay inside between 11 a.m. and 7 p.m. And they have that facility, that Alligator Alcatraz, just 30, 40 minutes inland from me, crammed with people, no ACs, no humane conditions. And I'm just wondering how all of those people are holding up this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something. All right, so Kenny, you want to get started?
Yeah. Well, we're already recording, so let's go. Jim, why don't you run this? You're ready to go. You got on your bus. You got a chariot ready to go, and let's
All right.
smash the man
All right,
down.
well, let's start again with what's going on in the headlines of the news, at least domestically, and that, of course, is the constant saga with Mr. Epstein and Miss Maxwell and Mr. Trump. This is July 30th. This is edition of Going Viral. My name is Jim Dingman. I'm joined with Ken Aaron in California, Amy in Utah, Julie in Florida, Joan in New York, and we'll be joined with others later. We'll start first with the Epstein issue. Now, and there's a lot to get into with that. Now, the first thing I'd like to get people's reactions from is that we have today a attempt by Ms. Maxwell to go to the Supreme Court. There's going to be a Supreme Court hearing on September 29th on this case. And she's claiming that the non-prosecution agreement that was reached with Epstein in the first phase of his litigation problems over all his escapades back in 2007, 2008, that this was the basis for her to say, well, even though she wasn't in that particular settlement in the Southern District in Florida, and that, as I understand it, you can reach these non-prosecution agreements court by federal court. It's not like it applies universally to all the courts. So even though she was not in that particular case, she is now arguing that that this applies to her, and she's trying to get in some ways, invoke a new interpretation of the Unitarian executive branch theory, where basically, the Trump administration can declare that the executive branch can declare everything is all encompassing, aside from the ability of each particular federal district court to reach an agreement. So she's essentially saying that that agreement reached in 2007, 2008 with Epstein and the other four litigants in there, and she wasn't part of that, that applies to her. Hence, she should be pardoned. And also the question becomes, is she going to be pardoned? And then is she going to then testify, of course, because we don't know what kind of agreement or discussion she had with Todd Blanche, the number two in the Justice Department. Is she basically going to say, hey, Trump is clean of everything. He had nothing to do with it. I'm going to just simply declare that that's the case. So what do people think about that? What are people's reaction to that? Joan, I'm sure you have an opinion about that. Oh, Joan can't talk. Her mic's not working. But Ali, Julie, Amy.
Yeah, I'll chime in if nobody else
Yeah,
has.
go on, Julie.
I think she has proven herself to be such an uncredible witness that I don't think anything that she says at this point will solve either side's dispute. I think that if she comes out and she says he had nothing to do with it, one side of the argument is going to be completely dissatisfied and say, well, of course you're going to say that because you're looking for a pardon. And if she comes out and she points fingers, then the MAGA group is going to say, oh, she was corrupted by the Democrats while she was in prison, and she's trying to get back at President Trump for not pardoning her. So I think at this point, none of her testimony should matter. I think that I know that the Trump administration is going through all of this sort of political theater of, oh, well, we're asking the court to unseal these files, and oh, the judge said that they can't. Right after he released the MLK files, he can certainly do the same with the Epstein files without going to court. I think anyway, and I think unless we see something in black and white, the only thing that's credible is the testimony of the victims and the testimony through all of the photos and videos that show the two of them together. And I think that speaks volumes over anything that she has to say.
All right. Do others have opinions about this? This question of the latest, and then of course the other thing that happened was he's basically saying yesterday on the airplane coming back from Scotland, he was basically angry that Epstein was poaching his employees from Mar-a-Lago to go work down in with Epstein. He was basically referring to that woman, Virginia Roberts, who committed suicide last year, Virginia Roberts Giuffre, that she was working for me. She was actually, remember, her father worked at Mar-a-Lago. He brought her in as a 16-year-old to work in the spa part of the of Mar-a-Lago, and then she was recruited and then trafficked, and she's the person who slept with Prince Andrew, etc. And then he said, well, she stole him from me. And of course, like the other thing they were blaming, I think they were talking about, as a further distraction over the weekend, they were talking about going after Beyonce, going after Oprah Winfrey. Again, what do people think about, this whole question of them going to the Supreme Court, or where we're at with him, maybe even giving her a pardon? What do people think?
Well, come on. Someone step up. I have to recuse myself because I had my own island. It was for, dogs and cats, but it was a similar setup. So I'm going to recuse myself. But
all right. Well, let me just
I say, all right. I will make a
share
comment.
this
I will
with
make a
people.
comment. It seems like
All right.
it seems like the news agencies and the Democrats are pushing this. This is all about Donald Trump. That's all we care about. Is he lying? Is he telling the truth? What is he trying to cover up? Trump, 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 Trump. That's what they're doing. That's it. They're just dumping on him. He says, we got some kind of a stick we can hit him over the head with. And that's what they're doing. And they're not talking about any of the other luminaries who were accused of spending too much time with Epstein or going to the island too many times. And it's just not bringing it up, or maybe as a side dish. But the main course is, we got Trump by the toe. We got Trump by the toe. Don't let go. Don't let go. Keep pulling. And that's what this is. And I've seen it happen before. And they make the most trivial things and they ramp it up, ramp it up, ramp it up, like his conversation with somebody in the Ukraine. That was quid pro quo. Quid pro quo, and let's impeach him for that. He was a president talking to another official in another country. Evil. Let's get him on that. And that's what it is. It's the same theater going on and on and on. What's not recognized by the Democrats is he's gone through the wall of fire on so much prosecution. It's become evident to his supporters that they're just trying to destroy him and stop him and slow him down and get some other Democrat appointed judge to stop what he's doing. And it's just a tie up. The Democrats are very rare, don't seem to be coming up with an agenda of what the country should be doing. Should it be going more socialist, or should it be going more the middle, the middle ground? And they stop and they say, well, everybody agrees that they will only get rid of the criminal immigrants. And that doesn't include sneaking into the country and staying here for 10 years. And it doesn't include getting any kind of government support. None of those things are qualified for deportation, just if he's got an act of violence. And that's about the only thing, because the Democrats want to sit on a high horse of morality. But the main thing that's going on is, we got Trump by the toe. Keep pulling, pull him out here. Shine a bright light on him. He's a criminal. He may be a criminal. Most politicians are, but they just want to, that's their theme. Attack Trump, attack Trump, attack Trump. And that's
But
it.
I think you're missing a little bit of the point. I mean, back when everything was going on, it wasn't attack Trump, attack Trump. It was go after Prince Andrew, and he faced repercussions for his participation. And I think if we took the
I'm,
word of the victims and
I'm
said, okay,
sorry.
mhm,
I'm sorry for interrupting. I missed what you said. Who paid for their?
Prince Andrew.
Oh, Andrew. No, he's not an
Right.
American. He's not an
No,
American.
I understand, but I'm saying the spotlight was not on Trump for years when this broke. You know, he's not the first person that everybody's going.
No,
You
no,
mentioned
no.
that they're
Now,
only
no,
going
no.
after Trump, but
They're
he
going
is
after Trump now, not then.
right. Well,
Now.
but he's also the leader of the free world. And I mean, do you think that, you know, being the president should excuse him from being a child rapist if in
Well,
fact
what
he raped
happened
that
to?
13-year-old?
Well, factually, not too long ago, someone was involved in a violation of his marital vows in the White House, and it depends. It's what is the definition of is? Let's talking about
Right. I'm not
Clinton.
sure how the two of those relate, though. I mean, it's a
Well,
very
he
simple
was he
question.
was he was involved in an immoral, salacious thing as the president in the White House,
Hmm.
and he didn't go to jail. He didn't get impeached, and he was reelected.
Right. Well, but what I'm saying is, it, if he truly did physically assault, rape the 13-year-old child who testified against him, who brought a suit against him, is that not enough to be enraged
What
and point your
happened?
finger?
What happened with that suit?
She dropped it and disappeared from public life or from everywhere because she was getting death threats and she was a child and she withdrew and hid. I don't know that, you know, I haven't done too much digging into where she is now, but from my understanding, she's off the radar. You know, she dropped the case because she couldn't deal with the press and the scrutiny from
Well,
especially from MAGA supporters.
have you ever been accused of doing something, uh, and you hadn't done it? Have you
I
ever
mean,
been
I'm 44
falsely
years
accused?
old. I'm
Yeah,
44 years old. I've never been accused of sexually assaulting someone. No.
not that, not that. Something else,
Well,
taking
but that's,
something.
yeah,
No,
sure.
no.
I
Have you
mean,
ever been accused of doing something that you hadn't done?
yes, but if I didn't do it and there were evidence to exonerate me, I would be the first one in line to say, look, and as somebody who is very sort of, you know, detail oriented, I have all of my files and everything with me. If I've ever been accused of something, it's very easy for me to say, nope, that's not what happened. Look at the date and time, look at the photos. I was here, I was doing whatever.
Well,
It's
then you
very
got a better
easy.
moral. You have a better moral record than I would say 75% of the politicians in office currently, and you should
Well,
run for president.
no, no. Possibly because
Yeah,
I have that. I wouldn't fit in DC, but I think that
and
you know,
and
that's
and what part of the Constitution says you can put a guy on a petard for some immoral practices prior to his taking offices? Where is that in the Constitution? You can actually, in the Constitution, elect a guy while he's in jail.
technically yes, but I think that's not what the outrage is.
This is
I don't know that the people that are upset are necessarily saying it's in the Constitution he can't be president because he's a child rapist. I think that the anger and the fury over it is that the Epstein files continue to be silent. You know, that his base, his own supporters, who he has been lashing out at, have been enraged. They want to see the files, they want to see the evidence, and it certainly was kept quiet during the election cycle. It was kept quiet for years. I mean, going back to before he was elected the first time, even though the
I
photos were
understand.
out
I
there.
understand. Okay, so it's my opinion. They're just, oh, we got something we can do. We can attack them about this. Because there's
Well, I
lots
think
of things they
it's a
could have been.
very valid thing to attack him about. He
He
raped a
could no,
13-year-old girl.
they could attack him for being a bully and telling these law firms that they can no longer have access to the
Well,
Capitol, or
And they
there's
should.
all kinds of things he's doing that the emollients. He's selling T-shirts. He's selling gold. He's
well,
doing all kinds of
he
crazy
deserves, he
things.
deserves
Bitcoin.
to be attacked by that. He deserves to be attacked for that.
That's right. But they're
And
not attacking him. He's not
well,
attacked.
wait a
Oh, they
second.
are.
Yeah, but also, who brought this up? Who brought
What?
this whole Epstein issue up? It was his own people who brought it up. It was Pam Bondi who said, "Oh, I have a client list sitting on my desk." She did that back in February. It was
Yeah.
Cash Patel and
Yeah.
Bongino before they were appointed into the
I
position they're
understand,
in.
Jim, I
I
totally
mean,
agree.
like who brought it up? I mean, we
So
were all
what?
of us thinking
What's
about. Well, what
this?
do you mean, so what?
What's
So
the
they brought it
significance?
up.
Why does it matter? What does it have to do with governing
Well,
the country?
They bring it up because he wants to cover what he's doing in Israel and all. So he brings up all the other crap. He's not being attacked enough. The problem is, when are we gonna start doing something to get rid of him?
Well, no, getting rid of him is
Horrible.
inadequate because the Democratic Party
yeah.
supported the sending of weapons and equipment and ammunition to
All right.
Israel. They
Well,
absolutely supported
all
every
right.
god,
I know,
excuse
but
me, every
All right.
Democrat.
Well, we'll get to that too. We'll get to that too. But I want to first. I mean,
That's something to do,
Joan.
the
No,
massacres
Joan
going on
raised
in
a good.
Gaza.
Joan raises a good
So
point because I want to.
can we one person at a time so
Yeah,
we
yeah.
All right, go on.
just do the
Go
stack?
ahead. Go
All
ahead.
right,
Because it's like we talking over each other, but I do wanted to say something.
go on, Ali.
Yes, this is the gentleman, if he's a gentleman, who said, and I saw the video, maybe some of you didn't see it, that he used to grab woman pussy. That's not what he said on the video.
Yeah, he said when you're a celebrity, you can do that and they let you.
Yeah, you could do, he did say that. So we're gonna believe what he's saying now? So he could just freely could just go out there and do that to ladies.
But the thing is, as far as that comment, and as atrocious as it was, and I was angry hearing it back when it made the original news cycle, he was talking presumably about women over the age of 18. And I think there's a different level when you consider that, one of the victims in this situation, and it was interesting. I don't know how old she was when she was allegedly at Mar-a-Lago, but these little kernels of truth come out as he speaks. And, the reason that he stopped talking to her was because one of the trafficked victims was taken from him. It seems like, maybe she was his toy first and then became this other guy's. You don't know what the actual truth is, but why is he bringing her up? And she's somebody who later committed suicide. And then there's a 13-year-old who was brave enough to come forward. She filed a suit. Yes, Ken, it could have been a false accusation, and maybe that's why she withdrew the suit. But from my understanding, there were photos and, there was other evidence that supported that she was there with him. It wasn't like it was somebody coming out of the woodwork and saying, I was at one of these parties one night with, a musician or whatever, where there was no connection. This woman was there. She was brave enough to come forward. As you can imagine, the fervent followers that he has went after her in full force, and she got scared. And who knows where she is now? And that's not fair for her. She was destroyed as a child, if this is true. And then she has to be the one that continues to pay for his wrongdoing well into adulthood, possibly for the rest of her life. That's a different level than, I'm a celebrity and I go and grope grown women. That's a child. And if you have a child, if you've ever been around a young girl who's 13, my son is 13, I can't imagine, number one, even letting my 13-year-old alone with creepy old men. But I really can't imagine what damage that would do at that level of development, to be assaulted by an old man and be threatened, and if you tell anyone, I'll kill your family. That's horrible.
Yeah, but he said he wanted to have sex with his daughter. So what are you gonna say? All right.
Yeah,
He
well,
did. He did on that show. I mean, I saw the tape, and the ladies, I think it was at the View. They
right.
couldn't believe it. They were just like, no, how can you
Yeah.
say that?
Well, let me get back to the chronology here. So in February, Bondi handed out those Epstein file binders. Then in March, we know they had 1,000 FBI agents going through all the documents looking for mentions of Trump. And we didn't hear anything about that until just recently. During that period of time, Pam Bondi supposedly told Trump his name appears in these documents many times. included potential instances of hearsay about Trump, but we all know that he was a buddy of Trump's for quite a long time. Then we have references to, on May 7th, Bondi says, references to tens of thousands of videos of Epstein with children or child porn, and there are hundreds of victims. So this is where they get into all the evidence they seized when they raided his house in Mar-a-Lago and they raided his house on 7 East 9th Street. Now, then you have what really caused the furor that we're living through right now. And on July 7th, you had the memo that was released by the DOJ that said there was no client list and Epstein's death was a suicide. And then on July 8th, after that was released, Trump called anybody who questions this that it's a desecration. He says, "Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been dead for for years. Are people still talking about this guy, this creep? This is unbelievable." Remember, he made that comment. And then all hell started to break out. Patel defended the DOJ memo called Conspiracies False when Kash Patel had basically, along with Dan Bongino, built up a whole career where they were basically, remember, Patel's said, you got to put on your big boy pants and, sit there and reveal all this information. Well, that, of course, he backed away from that. Bongino supposedly was upset about it and wouldn't actually talk about it. Trump defends Bondi as fantastic on the 13th. He downplays the case as boring on the 15th of July. And on the 15th of July, he reverses himself and says that Trump claims that Bondi never told him about his name appearing in files at all. Then on the 16th, he decides to start spinning it. He says it's a hoax invented by radical left Democrats. Then on the 17th, they say, oh, there's no special prosecutor for Epstein. Then on the 17th is when the Wall Street Journal publishes the letter that supposedly appeared in the birthday card or birthday book given to Epstein on his 50th birthday. Trump denies that. And we now know, of course, that he has also done illustrations, that the Epstein Foundation has a copy of this. The House and the Senate's going to get it. And then on the next day, on the 17th, Trump has asked the Bondi to unseal the grand jury transcripts, which I understand are nothing burger, because the real data is all these 300 gigabytes of evidence they seized, and also the question of all the U.S. Treasury reports that number in the thousands about illegal transfers of money over $10,000. Then on the 18th, he sues the Wall Street Journal over its report for $20 billion in damages. And as you notice, I think on Monday, he argued he wanted to depose Murdoch, who's 94, because he feels that Murdoch's going to die soon, and he wants to get that done in 15 days. He orders the DOJ on the 22nd to go after Obama. So you got this whole additional, quote, deflection from this based on saying that he was falsely accused that, the Russia hoax, when we know damn well that there was all these, fact-based evidence and investigations by the House and Senate and by the CIA that showed conclusively that Russia did indeed want to interfere in the election in 2016 and get him elected. Remember he, before, I believe it was before the release of the Grab 'em by the Pussy tapes, he goes, Russia, where are you? Why can't you help me? Remember he made that famous comment. So you got all this going on at the same time, and now we have the latest developments with Todd Blanche basically spending last week talking to Maxwell in prison, and then you have the issue of Maxwell deciding to appeal to the Supreme Court to have the whole case thrown out. And that's where we're at. And it's a sort of an unusual situation to have this as the case that sort of boils up and begins to appear like some sort of weird deja vu of Watergate. I mean, of all the things, who would have expected something like this with the Epstein situation? But of course, the issue gets into who are these people who were involved with the sexual trafficking of all these minors? Who was taking advantage of that? We know that there's a lot of people. It's a bipartisan list. Bill Clinton, Alan Dershowitz, all sorts of people, including Trump. And And so we're left with the situation right now with this going on. Uh, any final comments that people want to make? And there's some very interesting comments about this. A lot of people are paying attention to this. Polling are showing that 26% of Americans are paying a lot of attention to it. 38% are paying some attention. Most Americans are paying attention to this. It's lower than their attention that's being spent to the LA ICE raids, which is also high, but nevertheless, a lot of Americans are paying attention to this. They're across the board politically paying attention to this. Democrats more so, but MAGA Republicans, 60% of them are paying attention to this. So it's not as if, although less Republicans in general are paying attention to this. And then the question of Trump, people approving of how he's handling it. Most Americans do not approve of it. They feel that most of them disapprove of how he is handling it. Only about 20% of Americans approve of how he's handling this whole case. And of course, in MAGA Republicans, it's about 43% approve how he's handling it. 39% have no opinion. 17% disapprove. So he still has a base of support with, substantial amount of Americans, 43% of MAGA Republicans. You're talking about almost 30, 40 million Americans are going to back him 100% no matter what happens. Then the question of releasing the files. What are the files? Who's going to choose what the files are to be released? Most Americans favor that all across the board, no matter what your political opinions are. And then the issue of embarrassment to billionaires. Most people think that it is going to be embarrassing to both Trump, Democrats, and mainly wealthy Americans. That's a very interesting little statistic. 84% of Americans feel that. Now, the question of him being murdered. Now, that's another interesting issue that's coming up because people are now looking more carefully at that footage they released. And I would recommend people to go to CBS, NBC. They've done some really good analyses of the footage. What it shows is that what we're seeing in the footage, we're not actually seeing in that static footage the actual cell door of Epstein. We're only seeing a glimpse into the yard of where Epstein was one of several areas off that particular wing down there in the holding center in Lower Manhattan. And it turns out that what we're actually seeing is an entrance way, because you'll see a guard come in if you watch the video for hours and hours. I didn't do that. I was reading analysis of it. But you're not even seeing the wall that goes along the way leading up to where Epstein cell was. And his cell was right next to a guard cell. So the question becomes, why were they not monitoring him? What happened that night? Because they had signs that they had to go check on his cell every 30 minutes. So the question of, are we actually seeing Epstein's cell? We're not seeing his cell at all. His cell is it's not even visible to the camera. So that's another interesting thing that's come up with the issue of this. And again, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I am somebody who believes in empirical fact. And so this is sort of an interesting sidebar to all this. Anyway, and that's something else that I'd like to conclude with. How many people think he was murdered or committed suicide?
Well, I was reading something that said maybe he's not even dead.
Fuck. A
Well,
bunch of bullshit.
well, I tend to think he is dead. I mean that I do think is so. I mean, I just find that ridiculous. I mean, they had whatever reasons, he could have had many reasons to kill himself. And he certainly had there's lots of reasons why people might have had the intent to kill him. But I personally don't agree with that. I don't think he's not dead. I think he's dead. But I mean, that's my opinion, Joan. I just don't see that as.
Oh, I know. I read that. I thought, but
No,
who
no,
Who the hell cares?
things? Then
Yeah.
when you're in those jails, they don't go and check you every 30 minutes. Come on.
Well, but see, here you got a high profile person like him and who, now look at all the crazy stuff that's happening because he was either, he committed suicide, whatever happened. There's going to be a lot of attention to all this now, trying to figure out what occurred, and supposedly even the tape. They've analyzed the tape carefully that was given to the public. It turns out it's a duplicate of the tape, and you can actually see the splicing of it. I'm not talking about CBS or NBC. Yeah, sure, they make mistakes. They're not, reputable journalistic institutions make mistakes, so they could be making a mistake. I don't put that past it. I've seen them make mistakes before, but on this kind of issue, you don't want to stick your neck out and get clobbered. But anyway, I just wanted to share that. Now let me turn to the next issue, which we talked about a little bit yesterday, and that is the issue of the reapportionment of the districts going on around the country. We saw that I believe it's likely that the state of Texas is going to pass that that law. They are going to pass it. They may already have passed it, where they want to create 5 more districts. And in retaliation, the state of California has said, we're watching very carefully. If Governor Abbott signs this into law, we're going to follow with the same response. And it looks like there are several states that are being encouraged by the national, probably because some are saying out of the White House. And so what you've seen is the evocation of the Hatch Act. The Hatch Act is an act that was passed in 1939 specifically to act against any kind of federal tampering with election districts, election law. It comes out of an issue where President Roosevelt, they were accusing local Democratic Party politicians of using employees of the WPA during the elections of 1938 to basically help bring the Democratic vote over the top in Kentucky, Tennessee, Pennsylvania, and Maryland. So the result was an act basically not allowing the federal government to interfere in local elections. And that's what's being invoked by the Senate Democrats right now. But what do people think about that? What do people think about this whole question of reapportionment in the middle of this year? Usually reapportionment happens in terms of the result of the census. And obviously, if you want to decide to shift the balance of the Congress, you announce you're going to redistrict. And so this will probably, if the Republicans succeed in Texas, is going to spark a whole bunch of moves around the country to basically encourage this. And some are saying that it might actually backfire on the Republicans, because if it's a highly unpopular race next year in the midterms, in these districts where they only have a 10% margin, they could lose. But anyway, that's sort of the facts about it. But what do people think about that? Any comments? All right. Ali or Julie or Tom or Joan or Amy or Kenny?
Yeah, I just
the reapportionment. We're talking about the reapportionment that's being discussed in the state of Texas by the Republican.
I think the average American would be pressed to answer who's the Secretary of State, who's the Vice President, what parties exist, and how many articles are in the Constitution. Average American public is not into the details of politics, and this is a very strong detail. The allocation of House and the seats in the House of Representatives based on the census and the way the districts are drawn and so forth. So looking this up, I saw it said that only 17% of the seats for California are Republican, but voting, 40% of the population votes Republican. So, it's unfortunate that it sounds like it's a very corrupted system where it's not democratic. It's not delivering a proportionate representation of the public. Because we don't live in a democracy where we vote about everything. This is a representative democracy in a republic. where the states are different. Each, 50 states have their own sovereignty. That makes it a republic. And it's a a representative democracy. It's not a direct democracy, except for every time when the crowd comes out and says, yes, we want this, or we're going to go crazy. So, you get mob rule sometimes. And then the government backs down. That happens in other countries too. But I'm just saying it's unfortunate situation. I can't figure it out. And then the whole idea of I get confused about the whole idea of saying we have to make a district so that black people can vote and win something. Because if we just make the district this way, they'll never be able to get a black guy in office because you separate the districts so that they'll never be able to win any election. So it gets on the basis of like that, racial oppression, or for other reasons, other kind of oppression that a well-seated individual is willing to dedicate funds to push a lobby to make something happen that's into his benefit, corporate corruption. So I don't know. I think it's over everybody's head. I don't think anybody could really follow that unless they've been active in local partisan politics, like they try to get somebody in office, they ran on a campaign or they got out votes or they went door to door. Then those people are like, they would be aware of how the system works or fails to work properly. So
All right.
that's,
Yeah,
you
okay.
can explain it.
No, no,
You're
well,
one of
no.
those guys.
Well, no, but go on, Ali. What are you going to say?
How can this be a democracy when they pick people that you go to the booth and vote for them? And that is not true. How many time in here, it's very few time in this country that people go out on the street and the government respond to you. One of the perfect example, and like you said, the black guy served the powerful people. The black guy that he represented, supposedly, unquote, his people, they never do. You know who they serve. And you could just go one by one by one. Barack Obama, Adams. Look what Adams is here. Adam was the mayor before the primary. Did you notice that they used to call Adam the next mayor? So they picked Adam, and it didn't matter who went out there and voted for somebody else. He was already the mayor. And this is what happened in this country, especially in this city. This is the most undemocratic election that I ever seen. This is incredible. The only time, for the last primary, I usually don't vote. I usually don't like to go out there, but I'm still registered because I like to go and throw the vote against the people that, especially the Democratic machine, they usually pick. That is my vote. And what I do, I put the name of people that I know of or people that they have run. And that's what I do. But I don't vote for the Democratic Party because the Democratic Party, what they do in this city, they have a completely control. And it doesn't matter if you are a Democrat or if you are a Republican, whoever is going to serve the powerful, that is who they will pick. It's a fact in the city of New York. It doesn't matter how you look, what you color, what is your color. It doesn't matter. You could be a Democrat, you could be a Republican, you could be a Democrat and then you could switch to be a Republican, or you could be a Republican and switch to a Democratic Party. And for the last election, one thing that I noticed about the last election was that they sent so much mail. We got so much mail that what I did, I picked I looked for the email for the Cuomo's campaign, and I sent the email and I told them to stop sending me the garbage email because they were telling me and they were telling the people in this city who not to vote for. And who are they? This is supposed to be a democratic country. and you are the Democratic Party. How can you be telling people not to vote for this individual, not to vote for the other individual? It's a completely joke. I'm talking about mail, the mail that they use the woman, that they put because they're so powerful. And one of them is Mr. Cuomo. Look what Mr. Cuomo did in his office, and then we are not even talking about him. He forced himself to those ladies. And a lot of time, those ladies, they really don't do much because they need a job. And this is what also I believe Donald Trump was doing. And he's probably still doing it, but he's kind of fat and old now. So I don't think too many women really will deal with him. But anyway, I'm done. Thank you.
If I could jump in there, you're saying that we're not talking about what Cuomo did, but he left office after he was exposed, right? I mean, he did face consequences for his actions. Or are you saying that nothing happened to him?
No, it's actually, why could it happen? The man is running again, and now he even going to run as an independent. That's a shame. It should be a shame on the people that they go out and vote for him. He should be out of office, completely out of office. He should not run again. But people are supporting him.
But he's not the front runner, right? I mean, that's a non-issue. Yes, he can run again. Trump ran again, right? We never thought that he'd pop his head back up in politics.
And I agree with you. He's not the front runner. But my thing is, if I'm a female, I only have one child, it's a male. But if I had a daughter, do you think I wanted to send my daughter to work for somebody like Cuomo?
No, and I have a son too, and if my son ever did anything similar, he wouldn't have to worry about the media dealing with it. It would be dealt with much faster at home, right? And I
Yeah.
see you nodding your head. So it's not just about having a daughter, you know, it's a scary example to set for sons as well. But I think that the thing is that he did face consequences, and the Democrats turned on him very quickly when all of that came out, and he was out of office. Now, the same thing doesn't happen with the Republican Party. They will circle the wagons and defend and excuse. And, oh, you know, what about the laptop? What about the emails? You know, come look at this thing, Obama this, and, you know, this other person that. It's a crazy double standard that the Republicans absolutely, it's not all Republicans, because the more Republicans I'm talking to lately, it seems like there is almost a split in that party where there are people that are Republicans and then there's MAGA. And the Republicans are starting to say, yeah, this is not who we want representing us. But the MAGA people will absolutely circle the wagons, and you could be showing them, you know, they could literally be watching the house burn down in front of them, and they will absolutely deny that Trump set the fire. There's just, they will not accept any wrongdoing. He's nothing but perfect. And that's just, it's cult mentality to me. I don't understand it. That's not the same thing as Cuomo in my mind.
I don't think Cuomo my whole thing is that Cuomo should have never run again. I mean, he was run out of office, and for a reason, and for one major reason, and he shouldn't. I mean, and the whole thing is that Cuomo got people to vote for him, and you would be surprised. He probably could be even the front runner, because the elections in this city, and we already know that by Bernie, what happened to Bernie in Brooklyn, by the Democratic Party. I don't defend the Democratic Party. I can't stand the Democratic Party. I would never defend them. I'm not a Republican, but I would never defend it. It's too many things that are happening with the Democratic Party, and they're still doing things to the people, to the people that they go out there and vote for them.
All right.
Yeah, but a couple of people that were running.
So I would never defend the Democratic Party, especially Cuomo. Cuomo should never run again. And he was, I mean, you know how I saved the mail, that so much mail that I got from the Cuomo campaign, that I got so upset that one day I did the research. I couldn't even find a telephone number, but I found an email and I responded. to their all the mail that I got. And somebody responded to me. They said, "I'm sorry, I will never. I will take you out. I will take your household because it's 3 people in this apartment, and but you will still will be receiving because." You know how they send the mail. They already have everything pre-packed, and they have a day that they will send it out.
Right.
And they were very, very clear. But I told them, I said, I don't want to receive your garbage mail because this guy shouldn't even be running. But
And-
he ran again, and he got a lot of people to vote for him, even though he is not the front runner. I wouldn't be surprised if he's not the front runner because that they don't want whoever is the front runner. So, but that's another story.
Where's the hands up?
Well, let me just add. So here's the latest poll. The poll shows that Mamdani, and this goes back and forth. I'll qualify this in terms of the polls I've looked at ever since the primary, but the poll was done just about 5 days ago. Mamdani is getting around 50 to 51% of the support of the registered Democrats or the city or the potential voters. There is Cuomo's getting about 22%, although that number fluctuates. Some polls 2 weeks ago talked about if it was a race with Mamdani and Cuomo would win. Now, and I'll just hold off a second. I'm going to get into what this poll says. Sliwa, who's being pushed by the Republicans, all of us know Clark Curtis, mixed bag with him, but he's only getting 13% of the vote. Adams is essentially even lower in this little poll. I think he was getting about 10 to 14%. He's got about 17%. And Walden, I guess Walden is an independent or Democrat. He's getting 1%. The others don't count, about 6%. Now, in a four-way race without Cuomo, Mamdani's support goes up to 55%, according to that poll. In a four-way race without Adams, Mamdani gets about 51%. So Cuomo does get a bump. Other polls a couple of weeks ago showed that it was sort of tight with Cuomo having a slight edge. The level of support from Mamdani never goes below 50% and increases with thinner field and head-to-head accounts, head-to-head matchups. Now, a one-on-one matchup between Mamdani and Cuomo results in a win for the assemblyman with 52 to 40%, with 8% undecided. So what we should be left with is that I don't see Adams dropping out, although, we know that there'll probably be pressure on him to drop out. I think he might get pressure from Trump. Who knows? Because Trump is leaning towards Cuomo. He's openly said he thinks Cuomo is going to win. But what is really interesting in this race is that a Palestinian poll, this is a Middle Eastern opinion poll, was taken just trying to see the impact of the situation in Palestine on the vote. And this was just released a day or two ago. Now, I take it with a grain of salt, but I thought its conclusions were quite fascinating. They surveyed a whole bunch of Democratic Party voters in New York. This is before the starvation images started to flood into the media space. And anybody who's been following that situation knows that particular problem's been there for once. But the primary voters were concerned very much over the issue of Israeli policy in Gaza. And the New York primary voters, Democratic Party primary voters who vote for Mamdani feel that he should enforce the ICC injunction to arrest Netanyahu if he comes to New York. Now think about that. They also want to restrict weapons to Israel. And this goes across racial and ethnic lines. So Black, white, and Latino voters who voted for Mamdani in the primary, more or less 61% in all 61% in all those categories feel that that should be the case. They also want to restrict the amount of weapons to Israel. These are Democratic Party voters, Democratic primary voters. Now, again, any of you know the history of the Democratic Party in New York City. This is like profoundly different than anything I've ever seen in Democratic Party polling, because normally it is a overwhelming support for Israel. So this is a real sharp shift. And with likely voters, the voters, now again, I don't know what their sample is. You could question what their sample is, but they're also saying that large numbers of the voters are also believe that Israel. Now, we had a little debate about this yesterday, as you will recall, but even larger numbers of the voters believe that Israel is committing genocide in Gaza. So, what is interesting to me about that is that here you have an introduction of a foreign policy element into a race locally in New York City, which any of us know there's been an intense amount of attention to this issue since October 7th of 2023. And there were other polls that showed that this also was the case at the national level in the election last year. But now you see this in this particular polling data as important for voters in New York City in this mayoral race, which I found very interesting. So I'm curious what people have to say about that.
Jim, can I just ask you to correct something? You started this this explanation by saying a poll of Palestinians, and you didn't say what the result of the poll of Palestinians was. And I didn't know if you meant Palestinians in New York or Palestinians in
I correct
Palestine.
myself. No, I correct myself. I was wrong. I misstated. It's a poll of New York City primary voters.
Oh.
And they are overwhelmingly pro-Palestinian. And we're talking about, and again, I don't know what their sample was, but again, I know that this is an issue that has indeed fueled a lot of political controversy at the grassroots in New York City, as it has in other cities in the United States.
So and just as a follow-up to what you were saying, and I understand what.
Yeah, if I can share the screen, if you let me share the screen, I can actually show this.
Okay, no, I believe what you're saying is the findings they have. But do you think it's appropriate for, well, I mean, people do say what they say. So, but, you're electing a mayor of New York City, and you want him to get Netanyahu arrested and food to the Palestinians and get, Russia sanctioned. These are all international effects, international effects, not just U.S. international.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So, what you're going to show your position by voting for a guy who agrees with your viewpoint on international politics, but might not know about how to run a subway or get the fire department, and stop Manhattan from getting flooded with the next storm. It's not issues of New York City.
Well, I agree. They're not issues in New York City, but again, it's not the first time that foreign policy issues have entered into local New York City politics, nor will be the last. I'm just saying that this is what I found fascinating in this particular polling data, that it showed that here's this issue that has introduced itself into American domestic politics in New York City in a way that's very completely different from the New York City that, look, I was gung-ho Zionist when I was a kid. So this is a very different New York City in terms of its impact in voting that, it's quite extraordinary, actually, to see this kind of data. And I think it's important just to note that. Now, does that mean that this can be projected out to the rest of the United States? I don't know. I don't know. I would never make that conclusion. But I'm just saying that this is perhaps something that is a factor in the race we're experiencing right now that is, I think, has to be, talked about and thought about. It is something very different than the past. Anyway, I just wanted to share that with people.
Yeah, I have one follow-up question for Julie about Cuomo. I tried to look this up. I couldn't get all the details because there were like so many allegations, like 20 of them or something under Wikipedia. I thought Cuomo was not found guilty I'm not saying he's innocent, but was not found guilty on any of the allegations.
I don't think that he was either. I wasn't the one that brought Cuomo up. I said that he faced repercussions in that he left office, and I believe his brother had to resign from CNN as well, right? Didn't Chris Cuomo resign because he was advising his brother, and he didn't break the story. He instead acted like a brother.
Right.
I see.
I don't know what CNN did,
Yeah,
but I
that's
know
right. No, Julie's right.
he started a new network called News 25 or something like that.
Right,
Yeah,
but
Where
that was because he was forced to resign, though.
Yeah,
he,
exactly.
takes people on both sides.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
That's what I heard.
yes.
Well,
Yeah,
he
but
was a great reporter. I mean, I don't have an issue with him, but he
Yeah,
was forced to resign. That's the
by
thing is that
CNN, by CNN.
correct. But I'm
Okay,
saying
well, that's
you don't have the
that's
same thing on the other side, is what I'm saying. It doesn't matter what somebody says on Fox News, they're going to circle the wagons. And in the same way, it doesn't matter what, and it's not just Trump. There are other politicians that have been found, going back to who was the guy? Was it Weiner that was sending inappropriate photos
yeah,
over Twitter or something?
Anthony Weiner, yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, but I don't know. I feel like the Democrats are very quick to turn on their own politicians, and the Republicans will absolutely circle the wagon and defend, especially Trump. But if you talk to some of, and maybe it's down here, maybe it's different, but in Florida, where I am anecdotally, the people with whom I've spoken, anytime that you try to bring up anything to do with Trump or with DeSantis or with any of the Republicans down here, look at the commissioner in St. Lucie County that was just not 48 hours ago, he was arrested on child pornography charges. I know all of the commissioners up there. I've done volunteer work for nonprofits tied to the county up there for years. They're all silent. I mean, they have nothing to say about it. The guy was found with all kinds of sexually explicit material. He was messaging a minor, sending nude photos. And I think she was like 12 or 13. It was something insane. And they arrested him. DeSantis actually signed an executive order removing him from office. He resigned effective the 2nd. But DeSantis yesterday threw a fit and said, no, he's out today. But nobody else is pointing the finger and saying, we don't want pedophiles in office. That's not who should be leading this country.
I know pedophiles is a bridge too far. You can't, it has not yet been brought up to a point of saying, where's your compassion for people who are sexually
NAMBLA.
aroused by young people?
Yeah, NAMBLA, right?
Yeah, NAMBLA. But in any event, I think that there were two cases you just sent. The Wiener guy, I think he was convicted. He got divorced.
Right.
He admitted it. There were lots of, and I was thinking of Franken. Remember Franken, the
Yeah.
comedian who was a senator,
Franken.
and he got him for making a joke. He didn't do anything. He just made a joke, and he out. So
That's what I'm saying is there's a double standard in this country
yeah,
where the allegation against Trump by a witness who has no, she doesn't have a criminal history. She's not Ghislaine Maxwell, who has a history of lying and protecting her own interests. But this child came forward and said, I was raped, and here is what he said, and here's
Yeah.
how he did it. And I was a virgin, and all of these things that are heart-wrenching to hear. We don't believe her, right? And that's the amazing thing is, there are all these women, hundreds of women that have testified, and dozens of victims that have come forward with lawsuits against Trump and lawsuits against these other people. And, the ones that stood up against Epstein, we're not taking their testimony at face value. All of these women, we know that something happened, right? Because he was arrested. We know there are all the files. We're arguing over the dossier, but the one set of people who have every reason to be honest, who were brave enough to come forward, are those victims. And nobody is taking what they're saying at face value. We're screaming about the client list of Jeffrey Epstein, the notorious liar, criminal, pedophile, blackmail artist. I mean, we're waiting on those files, but we won't listen to what the women had to say. And that's really frustrating. And again, this guy in Florida that, he was communicating with a minor. He didn't actually engage in sexual activity with her. It was online communication to what I know. He was arrested. DeSantis is throwing this sanctimonious fit and writing an executive order removing him from office 2 days early just so that he can look like he's righteous in some way. But he stands behind Trump. And the girl that the commissioner was accused of attacking or communicating with was 12 or 13, but Trump stands accused of physically raping a 13-year-old child. And he is the president and everybody is supporting him. I don't understand the double standard there.
Oh, okay.
I mean, do you think that there is a difference between the two?
I personally, I voted for Hillary Clinton because I thought she was a crook and a thief, because that's the only person who can sit at the post of President of the United States and deal with all the other countries, with Kim Jong-un and Putin and Macron and all the other countries all over the world, and be able to make a tough decision and handle all the conflicts that go on in his country. You've got to be tough. You've got to be nasty. You can't be la-di-da, like a very admirable president we had, Jimmy Carter.
Mhm.
Very admirable, but like too weak, too not solid enough. So I don't have a problem with electing a person who's a crook and a thief, as long as he's got the interests of his post, what he's doing for what we do and what he does. I'm not concerned about his indiscretions. And
Well-
and I just learned a little something by looking at the charges on Cuomo. One woman charged me, said he put his hand on my back.
Yep.
And he kissed me once, and then he did say he looked at me and said I look good. That was the charge. So I
And
didn't
he-
read the rest of them, but that one pounced
Spoke
out
out.
at me.
Yep.
So it's
No, they
sort
were
of like,
very minor compared to what Trump stands accused of.
yeah, well, that's fine. I don't care what he was accused of. It's what's
Well, okay.
consequence, what he was found guilty of in this
And
country.
again, the problem that I have with that argument, and I'm not saying that you're wrong. I agree with the idea of innocent until proven guilty, but the only person who has access to that evidence right
Yeah.
now is the person who has all of the incentive in the world to be aggressively scrubbing it of any evidence that implicates him. We know that all of these files were turned over to the DOJ. We know that there were a lot more turned over than have been released. And we don't know what those files are. Maybe in 50 years, somebody will become a whistleblower and write it in their memoir. Pam Bondi will write about it to make money once she gets fired. Something like that's going to happen, right? When he doesn't need her anymore and he kicks her out, then maybe she'll turn on him and say, she'd lose her license though, right? As an attorney.
Again, I don't think it's a correct line of consideration to terms the qualifications of somebody to be in certain positions in organizations. Like you're from Florida, right? So was it if the head of the fire department has been caught going to a peep show, or like they accused Pee Wee Herman of
Yep.
doing something
masturbation.
immoral in a peep show, right?
Right.
Do you think you say, well, that's it? You're no longer the chief of the fire department. I don't care if you worked here for 30 years and you put out 150 fires.
But
You're
see,
out because I'm offended.
But you're minimizing the severity of the allegations against her. And it's not one person, right? She's the one case that I've read about. But there is a difference between what Pee Wee Herman did, right? He was in an adult movie theater.
You're judging it. You're making a judgment on it.
I'm making a judgment that pedophilia and raping a child is
Right.
more severe than having an extramarital affair with Marilyn Monroe, who's a consenting adult who followed you around for years afterwards. That's a very different thing. And there is something that's a line too far. And I think as a country, except for in the states where they have the marriage at 12 and 13 still legal, as a country, we've all accepted the fact that pedophilia is a no-go. Right?
I want to point out in France, the premier, what is it, the president or the Macron started going out with his current wife when he was, I think, 14 and she was 40, or she was 17 and she was 40. That's pedophilia. And he married her. And that was probably the first encounter he had with a female.
Was he 14 or 17?
I think it was, I'm not sure, but
so there's a 20-year age difference?
Yeah. And they're still married.
Okay.
He was a minor.
Well, but if he was 17, like a few months shy of 18.
Let's clarify right now. How old
It's a debate if he was 14 or 17.
Yeah.
There is a lot of people debating because I don't think that has been very clear if he was 14 or 17. She was a teacher and she was over 20 years. I think it's 30 years. It's between 30. It's more than 20 that
So she was his
got
teacher?
over. Yeah, that's
Then
what
she should have been arrested for statutory rape at the
But you
time.
see, that's what the whole thing. They had different laws.
Okay, now I got here, it says 15. The
15.
first number I got is he was just 15.
Yeah,
Let some teacher come after my son when he's 15 years old.
Well, no, I understand, but the guy is currently, I would not ask him to step down from being the head of France.
Well, he would have been the victim
because-
in the situation.
Yeah, but he's condoning, he's perpetrating, he's party to a crime. He knows that. You
Well,
know,
he's no longer party to a crime. He was the victim of a crime when he was a child and he survived it and moved on with his life. It's a different situation than if he were the teacher that started dating a 15-year-old and we're like, okay, that's okay. You don't need to worry about following the law. She was 15, but you married her and you guys are still together. He's not the aggressor in the situation. If
well,
anything,
I don't think the world will run very well if we have as our unquestioned method of evaluation moral turpitude or the lack
oh,
of
but
it.
it's always been one of the at least front facing, right? And like I
In the
said, Marilyn
14th
Monroe,
century, the 14th
it's-
century, not during Mao Zedong, Adolf Hitler,
no,
or
right.
you know,
But those aren't.
there's been wars. I'm sure that Mussolini had 16 girls who were
Instances,
under
right.
16. You know,
But again, and everybody's allowed to have their different opinion. For me,
yeah.
being a pedophile is a line, and if you're a pedophile and you were, and again, there's also a difference between, which again, there's no justification for a teacher grooming a student and then molesting that child. I don't find that acceptable in any situation, hard stop. So I don't want to
Okay.
sound like I'm defending it. But if, if he was, and I can't even phrase this in such a way that it makes sense because it's a stupid argument, but if he was a consenting participant and he was 17 years old, which you said he's 15, I understand that there's the debate, but it's different than raping someone. Like he locked a girl in a hotel room, climbed on top of her, she was crying, and his response is, what did you think was going to happen here, before ripping her clothes off and sexually assaulting her? That is a violent act of assault. Do you
Okay.
see that it's just disgusting? I mean, can you just agree with me
It's
that
an
that's disgusting?
accusation. It's an accusation of a violent act of assault.
Okay, but if it were true, would it be disgusting? Would it affect the way that you see him?
No, I'd say he's a creep and a rapist. Did he close the border? Did he handle the economy? Did he stop the war in between Gaza and Israel? Did he stop the war between Ukraine
No.
and Russia?
No.
No, he hasn't. But those are the things I would monitor him on. Has he stopped wars? Has he straightened out the economy? Has he lowered the crime rate? Has he made it more easy for people to get medicine? Those are the things that are relevant.
What he has done is he has enriched his own wealth. He has gained. No, he really has. Tell me that coin.
You got to be kidding. You think he's doing this for money?
Well, please, Kenny,
he's a multi-billionaire to start with.
Yeah, well,
he doesn't need to run for office.
Well, you don't get to be a multi-billionaire without making more money. I mean, come on. He's he turned the White House into a, he has all these different businesses he's spun off. His son-in-law got money from Saudi Arabia to set up a Commonwealth fund.
Yeah.
And so to get into an argument about, like, that's funny. I'm glad you make these arguments because I'm sure that some people are going to rationalize defending him along those lines. But he knows goddamn well that that there is this huge list of, and then remember, there's an allegation that.
No, Jim, I give it to you. He is the most repulsive, guilty criminal in the world.
Look,
he's fantastic. Let's keep talking about him.
It's not,
there's nobody worse than him.
There are many people worse than him.
He could corrupt the devil.
He's just up there in the category. That's all. And here's
Yeah,
this
he's a
guy.
wonderful guy.
What did somebody allegedly say when she was underage? Epstein, this woman, I forget her name. I think it's one of the victims. She says something along the lines of, when she first met the president, he's ogling her, and Epstein comes in and says, "Oh no, she's mine, not yours," and stuff like that. And so like, come on, it's like Trump is like, and we all know what kind of I could use some rather colorful phrases to describe how Trump's behavior is, but everybody knows this. He boasts about it. It's like how he branded himself, and he gets money lent to his son-in-law by the Saudi government. He has all these different spin-offs that his sons are doing based on their relationship to him as president of the United States. I mean, come on, man, this is ridiculous.
Jim, he donates his salary to charity every quarter, right?
Yeah, right. It's donated.
He's doing this for free.
Yeah. Well, anyway, but I'm glad you say that, Kenny, because it gives me insight into the kind of rationalizations I'm encountering all the time with these guys who defend Trump. It's quite.
And I don't think anybody's talking about his personality. People are talking about his policies and his getting done what he said he's going to do.
Yeah, but what did he
He
get
said
done?
he's going to stop. He
What
said
did he
he's
get
going to
done?
stop men competing in female sports, and he just did it.
Well,
No, because they're
okay,
still
so big
doing it in
deal.
Maine, right?
Huh?
They're still doing it in Maine.
No,
He
well, he's
hasn't
going
complained.
after those who were
But
violating the order.
there were 11 trans athletes, right? 11. And the cases that he brought up where he's saying they're taking trophies away from women, they're stealing whatever, none of these cases that he cited during that speech that he gave were even cases where the trans athlete got first, second, or third place. The big one, that girl that runs around now with the CPAC people and she gives all the speeches about how she hates trans people, she was tied for 5th place in a swim meet. And I'm Gen X. To me, that's you don't get a participation trophy. She was angry that she didn't get her 5th place trophy because they only had one and they gave it to the other person to hold for one photo.
So okay, so you're a person who thinks it's okay for men to compete in women's sports.
I don't, I honestly don't have as strong of an opinion about it. I don't think that the biggest, buffest men out there are undergoing, sexual reassignment surgery so that they can compete in women's sports and take their medals away.
No, they don't have to. They just say they're a woman. They don't have to have any
That's not what they're
surgery.
doing. And if you look at who the athletes are, that's not what they're doing. They're not chopping off their private parts to win a women's swim competition. That is just not happening.
They're not
Michael
chopping off
Phelps
their
didn't-
private parts.
Well, Michael Phelps didn't, put on a wig and slap some lipstick on and go compete. He was competing in the men's team. This is, I think, if you look at the cases, and John Oliver actually did a really good segment a couple months ago where he was talking about every case that was cited during Trump's speech. And one of the cases where they pointed to a trans athlete and it was a race or a 10K or something like that, it was a co-ed race to begin with. It was literally a co-ed race, and they pointed out that a trans athlete got a higher rank than a female athlete, but the record that this trans athlete beat or whatever it was that he did had been just previously broken by a woman, then broken by a man, then broken by the woman that the trans athlete beat. So it's been going back and forth. They're manipulating the facts of these cases so that it looks like there are these men that are, big beef burly men, football players that are, throwing on a wig and a bikini and saying, I'm going to compete in women's sports. And, they're such a danger to women. Look at the trans athletes. These are not the big, tough, macho guys. Yeah, they might be amazing swimmers, but they're not a threat to the female athletes. And a swimmer is not going to endanger a female swimmer who's in a different lane. So what does it matter?
Well, you don't have a daughter, so I don't understand, because it's a
But
question
I was
of,
a daughter. That's the thing.
okay, so what about when you went to the locker room? Did any of the guys come in and take a shower with you?
Well, I was in theater and we all had to change in the same room. So
Yeah,
we
that's
learned how to
true.
use modesty, right? So
I know that. That's a theater tradition. I know that.
yeah.
But if you were in the locker room, you were on a team?
I was a cheerleader. So, yeah, there were times that, that people would pop in and out of the locker rooms. I wasn't on any other sports. I was in theater, I was in debate, I was on scholastic scrimmage, those kinds of things.
Okay, well, in any event, he said he would do it and he did it. That's why he's supported, not because
So that's the one
he's,
thing that he's done. He took action against 11 Americans and then
oh, you
he's
kidding? He
supporting-
issued 40, 50, he's issued the most directives of any president.
but they're ridiculous.
Well,
And
you
that's the
may
thing, they
think
don't
so.
really accomplish a whole lot. Like I could
That's,
sit here on my throne and sign
yeah,
5 executive orders a day. And if
yeah.
nobody's listening to them and my neighbor takes me to court and says, listen, this crazy woman keeps taping this stuff to my door. And the judge says, you need to stop that. I'm not any more effective than he's being.
Uh-huh.
I can sign whatever I want to, whether or not it's enforced and ever enacted, or if it's stopped, which it's all being stopped.
Did he
Hopefully-
stop the immigration?
No, unfortunately, and that's the one thing that we don't talk enough about in this space.
There's still
But-
illegal aliens coming in across the southern border?
No, it's not the illegal aliens coming across the
I'm
southern
sorry,
border.
no
What he
one
did was
is illegal alien in the world.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
a,
no,
that's a
man.
moralistic viewpoint.
Yeah, but
destroyed-
there is
Coming
no
across
illegal-
the river
they
is
are
illegal.
not illegal
But that's not
aliens.
what he
You're
did.
talking
And-
about like the people that they came from out of the world. Jim, out of from another space.
Well, I'm just saying, look, the point is, whether you agree or not with his
It's
actions,
just very.
that's
Okay.
what people are supporting him
Okay,
for, the
good night,
actions he's
everybody.
taking.
Good
Ken,
night,
let me
Jim.
ask you a question.
You go
With
ahead.
these illegal aliens, right? And you're
Yeah.
talking about people crossing the border illegally. What about the 900,000 people that came here legally? They came through a legal pathway, right? When they crossed the border, they were here legally. He signed an executive order in April and sent letter. I've seen the letters. I'm not on the internet. Like I know people who have gone through this parolee status who are right now in limbo. So it's a very personal issue to me. And these people were sent a letter in April. I think it was April 24th. And that letter said, you have 30 days to get yourself out of the country or you will be arrested and deported. They didn't do anything wrong. These are people who have family in the states that sponsored them. They came through a legal pathway. They followed all of the paperwork. They filed everything on time. They have no criminal record. They've committed no crimes since they've been here. And just like 900,000 other legal residents, they were told, get the hell out because you're Hispanic. We don't want you here anymore.
They were not told that.
No, they were sent a letter.
Okay, so were those the people who came in on that special, the special thing
Parolee
that
status.
Biden did? Pardon
Yep.
me?
Well, parolee status.
The parolee status, which is expired, and then they have to
Well,
go
as of
back.
April 24th, when he signed the executive order, right?
No, it was about to expire, or it had already expired, and Biden extended it and he canceled that. But they were only supposed to be here for a limited amount of time.
No,
So
that's
your
not-
statement,
No,
yes,
no, no,
it's
no, no. Wait,
true.
wait, wait. They were supposed to stay in the. I've seen all of the paperwork. Trust me. The people that come under the parolee status have to live in the United States for 1 year and 1 day. They're allowed to work, so it's basically a work visa. If they don't commit any crimes, if they follow everything, if all of their paperwork checks out, if they have their family sponsors and they can show proof of support in the States so that they can be self-sufficient, then in 1 year and 1 day, they're allowed to apply for their green card. It is an expedited green card process for people who come from countries like Cuba, who, the Cubans very much voted for Trump. They're not happy right now because now he's turning on them. But bite the hand of the people that are feeding you. But these people were not here to be here for a limited amount of time. You should really research what this parole status was. It is an expedited path to citizenship for people who are seeking legitimate asylum from a tyrannical government. And
Right,
they
it was
came-
Cuba, Venezuela, El Salvador, and
Yep.
Haiti.
Yep.
Okay, now who picked those 5 countries? Or the 4 countries? It was four countries.
Regardless of who picked it.
I mean,
did
you
they
say
come legally?
regardless.
No,
To
no, no,
me,
but I'm asking you.
to me,
did
it's a
they come
big
legally?
insult. To me, it's a racist act because it didn't go for what other countries, the people all over the world who could have submitted people to that. There were times when people ran lotteries. I think Obama did it and Clinton
I
did
know.
it.
Well, we're correcting
it-
that now. We're letting the white South African oligarchs in. to
Yeah, I
offset
understand,
that.
which is criminal because they're white. I understand. But the thing is, somebody picked those 4 countries without the consent of the Congress or anything. It just picked these 4 countries. We want them.
Well,
and I
Cuba's had
consider that
preferred
very
status
prejudiced.
for Cuba has had preferred status since Castro took over. So
Yeah, I
that's not
understand
something,
that.
that's not a Biden thing. They've
Besides,
always
those
had preferred.
countries, they are poor, no,
They're
because
poor
they are
countries. We
poor.
give us the poor
Yeah,
people.
it's because
So he made that decision, which is a
those
significant
sanctions
change
and a
to the
lot of things
demography of
make
this
them
country.
poor, not because they're poor. That's one thing that Americans, they don't understand. A lot of countries that they're poor, it's not
Yeah.
because they're poor.
Yeah.
They probably have a lot. Like a place like Venezuela, they have minerals, they have gold, they have
Oh,
so
yeah, yeah, yeah. The country's got a lot of
yeah,
resources. It's a
okay, they
problem with
have
the
a lot of resources.
government.
I'm gonna go now, but I do wanted to say this before I leave.
Yeah.
If Cuomo was not guilty, how come with all that money that because he comes from money, how come he didn't defend himself? He
Who?
would have been able to defend himself. He could have gone to court with all those
He
cases that
started
he has.
defending himself. The Democrats told him that he needed to step down, and he listened to
Yeah,
his
but you
party.
know what? It's one thing that if you don't think that you're guilty, and then you could defend
Defend
themselves.
yourself.
And
No,
even, I mean, the Democrat could say anything. I mean, look at him. He's defending this woman, Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton was the woman who destroyed the country of Libya. And who was the
Right.
country of Libya?
She did that.
Of course she did that. And she was
Absolutely.
very proud of it.
There
Absolutely.
you
She was
go.
very proud.
And that
With better
ruthlessness.
living standard than any other country in Africa. That was
Uh-huh.
Libya. And look how Libya looks now. But anyway,
Right.
I have to go, people, because
All
I
right. Well,
was in
thank you,
another
Ali.
call.
Thank
You're
you
right
I
very
about
was in
Libya.
another call before I came
Thank you
here.
very much, Ali. And thank you for Julie. These are very important questions in
Yeah,
terms of dealing with the deportation issue and the migrant issue. It's true that it's worth concentrating a lot of attention on that
yeah.
because
Yeah.
I know
they
there's a lot of different aspects of it. I also have my own bitter feelings about how my Hispanic relatives were treated when they came to this country, and they were all very patriotic Americans, I should add. So I I think that really angers and annoys me very much when
well,
I
and I
see
think
kind of xenophobic comments that these people make about Latinos and also in general about non-American, like they have this very Anglo-Saxon, uh, waspy kind of interpretation about what an American is. And I'm part wasp myself. So I can say that with great, I don't care about that. I can, I'll sit there and attack the wasp. I don't give a damn. Uh, but
Yeah,
that,
but aren't
that,
you
that
attack
really,
wasps?
what?
You'll
Oh,
attack wasps.
yeah, I'll tag one. But
That's racism.
yeah. Well, it's just racist. Well, like white Anglo-Saxon racism is very inherent in American culture and society. But this issue is something we really have to explore. But what are you going to say, Julie? I'm sorry.
well, I was
Yeah,
going
go
to say,
ahead.
the last thing, Ken, that I wanted to just,
Yes, go ahead, Julie.
what I'm trying to get through is that the people that came, regardless of who designated them as a protected class, regardless of whatever, as an individual, right? And in this country, we have those, you can't be convicted of something that wasn't law when you did it, right? So you can't be, if you do something and, a year later they turn it into a crime, you cannot be arrested for that crime if it wasn't law, if, you're grandfathered in or whatever the term is. These people came legally. They paid their fees. They came into the country. They had to show, but, they were doing everything right. And I can understand canceling the program and saying, okay, we're letting it expire. We're not going to do it anymore. That was a terrible idea. We're going to look and see everybody who has criminal records. If they're violating their orders, then, people who would be subject to deportation under regular law. But to blanket say 1 million people who have been in this country, who are, working towards citizenship, who are abiding by the rules, you're going to work every day, you're paying taxes because you're a legal working employee, right? So they're not working under the table. They're not taking resources because they have to show that independence. They have to show that they're self-sufficient and they have family sponsorship. These are not the people that are the criminal, degenerate rapists and murderers that Trump said he was going to ship to El Salvador and get out of the country. These are hardworking people. The people that I'm talking about in particular, they're an elderly couple in their 80s that fled Castro to join their daughter and her family in Florida. They're not people that are related to me, but they're so scared to go to their immigration appointments that I've actually gone and sat with them, not because I can do anything, but because I can call their attorney if they're detained because they just get disappeared. These people who have been through hell for most of their lives living under the Castro regime, who came here by the books to do things the right way, do you really think that they qualify as illegal immigrants that are breaking the law and deserve to be deported? I mean, you know, when
No,
you
I don't. I don't. I think that there should be a more appropriate handling. I was just concerned about how that decision was left up to a small group of people and wasn't considered by the any kind of representative democracy about who do we want, what kind of cultures do we want added to this country. You know,
Well, all right,
because so somebody
right,
decides, and
all
it's
right.
usually for political reasons.
All right. Well,
You know,
okay. Those are very important issues to discuss
yeah.
because it gets into what is an American? What does it mean to be an American? Is it, who decides that issue? And I don't consider it to be left at the hands of Trump 2.0 to decide who an American is
I
or
know,
not.
but you don't like Trump. You
It's
don't
not a
want
question
to.
of liking Trump or not. I
Whose
make
hands
that,
do you want to leave it in?
well, I want to leave it.
Dr. Oz,
No, it wouldn't be
RFK?
Dr. Oz. I don't want to leave it in any of those guys' hands. I want it to be fair and equitable to all. And keep in mind that the promise of the United
Name
States,
someone. Name someone.
well, look, we have had
Name a
battles.
Democrat. Name a
college
Democrat.
professors who are qualified to do sociological studies, who can gather together as a panel,
I
do the
challenge their
research.
I challenge their knowledge and their authority. They have not been doing well in the colleges. The kids coming up are rebellious and they're mostly Marxists. They come in
Well,
with that
rebellious
philosophy.
means that they're doing their job, right? That First Amendment that they're so passionately expressing means that they've taught them that they have the right to rebel.
They're educating them to be activists, not to be members of society who
And
That's
that's
not
further
new.
the
that's ridiculous.
society.
What happened in the 60s? I mean, this isn't something
Yeah.
new. This is, and then the 50s with the civil rights. I mean, we are
Yeah,
an activist nation. Look at the Boston Tea Party. That's rebellion.
yeah,
That was a bunch of young guys that got pissed off and went and, you know, hijacked private property off a boat and threw it in
yep,
the harbor. That was not civil discourse by, you know, college educated, well thought men. That was a bunch of uneducated white guys that said, you know what, they pissed us off. Let's go get the tea. That's
yeah.
all that we've been since day one is rebellious. And there's
Well,
nothing wrong with that.
we'll spend time on that
No,
issue
not
in a
true.
different venue. We'll
It's
spend
not
time.
all we've been.
Well,
It's not all
Kenny,
we've been.
Kenny,
Yes.
we'll spend time on that issue.
But
in
it's a good issue to discuss. I mean,
well,
I think that's a very much more important to discuss is what do we want to, what are we really setting ourselves up to do? What is this country setting up to do? Are we here to be the police for the world? Are we here to save the world everywhere it's crippled? Are we here to save every life on the planet? If one guy dies of starvation, should we be there? You know,
What you're
I looked at the amount of funds we're
About
spending.
the country putting all the tyrants into those other countries, and
There you
then the
go.
people have to leave them. Do you think it's fun to go across rivers and mountains with kids on your back and all? Would you be able to do that? And then
Well,
they come here and they're called illegal. And then, of course, we need them because you're not going to go. There's no white people are going to go and pick the fruit and the vegetables and all to put on your table, and you don't pay them anything. But nobody talks about that.
you have a button on white people, I'd like to indicate.
Yeah.
You consider white people corrupt.
Well, come on.
well, okay. Well, look, the migrant issue we'll deal with. Okay, thank you. Thank you for bringing it up, Julie, and it's obviously an issue to put a lot of attention to, and we'll.
I think I want to thank Julie. Thank you for helping these people because you're trying to correct an injustice. Where they're railroading, whatever they're doing right or wrong, they're knocking over people who deserve to be supported, not attacked.
well,
So
and
you're
that's
handling it.
what I
You're helping.
have very little ability to help, right? Because I'm a single mom. I will always make sure that I can come home to my son. That's my first but as long as I can legally go and sit in the lobby while they're doing their appointments and, submitting their paperwork, that's the best action that I can take. I'm not posting reels on Facebook, and I share a lot of them. Amy can tell you that I'm sharing 20 or 30 of them a day with her, but I don't feel that, putting a target on my back by posting things in one direction or another is the smartest idea. I'm a business owner, and I have a lot of clients that are very Republican. I have a lot of clients that are very Democrat. I keep my politics to my friends. My friends that know me well know what my opinions are on various issues. But when it comes to acting, I cannot just sit here. I can't go storm Alligator Alcatraz, but I can remind people like you guys, hey, it's 120 degrees out right now. I'm sweating in my house that has air conditioning. There are these people that are packed into cages 30, 40 minutes from me that are living in atrocious conditions, covered in mosquitoes, and they are in dangerous heat where the state is saying, stay indoors. If you don't have AC, we have cooling centers available. Where are the cooling centers for these people? There are humanitarian crises happening here. And if the little thing that I can do is accompany a little old couple to their appointment, that's the best way that I can help make change. That's the only thing that I can do, but I will stand up. And I did take my son with me and showed him what the process was, because his grandmother was an immigrant. My father's family came in 1633. My mother came in 1962, and he should be proud of both sides of that family. It's a very bizarre family, 13th generation and well, he's third generation American, but I'm first generation. No, he's second generation. And I think if we're going to do anything to stand up for it, that's how you take action, not going on live and look at these people I mean, yeah, you have to draw awareness to it, but you know, any little action that you can take, and it's not civil disobedience because you're being obedient, but it's that civil obedience in furtherance of the law or in furtherance of what's just. And that's, I think, where people need to stand up. And that is a great way to help people in your own communities, is if you know somebody that's going through it, get all of their information. We're being told in Florida that unless you're with the person that's being detained, they give, if somebody's with you when you're detained, you get an ICE number, and otherwise they get buried in the system, and you can't track down. They get sent to Louisiana, they get sent to Texas. Nobody knows where they've been shipped off to. Here it's either Chrome or Alligator Alcatraz now, because DeSantis wants the numbers on the chart, so to speak, of how many people he's deported personally. But they're telling us, ask people, if you see somebody being detained, what is your name? What is whatever, and get the information so that you can pass it along to someone who might be able to help. And for me, that means, I have the lawyer's number in my cell phone, and I know that if something happens, you call the lawyer and he will at least be able to intervene before they're shipped out of state.
Right. So
Great.
that's good.
That's great.
That's very good. Thank you for observing it and doing something about it. I think that's very admirable. And I know you're not doing this to to get a kick out of being virtuous. You're doing it because it has to be done.
If I were doing it to get a kick out of being virtuous, I'd be live streaming with the selfies right outside the immigration center. Look at me and what I'm doing. No, very
Right.
few people know that I've done it.
All right. Well, good for you,
Okay.
Julie.
Good.
That's an important thing to do. All right. Well, that
Yeah.
might be a good note for us to call it a day today. So
Okay.
just to let you know that tomorrow we're going to be dealing for the next 2 days with the Ukraine situation predominantly. And we're going to have Ivan Torres, retired Lieutenant Colonel, U.S. Army. He'll talk tomorrow. And then Alex Stavropoulos will come in on Friday and do his thing. There'll be both very different approaches to the topic, but we're going to do that twice in a row in the next week or 2 weeks here. So anyway, thanks so much for, can you just stay on a little bit? I want to talk to you about some stuff.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
you guys take it easy. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you, Joan.
Joan,
Thank you, Amy.
Amy,
Thanks, guys.
and Julie.
No, I can't end the call.
I'll end it. Okay, it's just you and I, and that's
Okay.
it.
All right. So,
Rare!
all right. Well, that's always, you always have a grand old time arguing with everybody. All right. Anyway,
I feel I'm okay. When I started, I was doing this. I was very incoherent. I had an inability to just come out with a sentence.
right.
I just got hit a wall and say,
Right.
can't remember the word or something. But I feel like, right or wrong, I'm at least being adequate, like 60% articulate,
Right.
if, not 100%. But, and that's the major thing is to present something interesting. It doesn't have to be true. It doesn't have to be right or wrong. It just has to be well presented. It's sort of like on the basis of like the early debates between Gore. What's his guy? Gore and Buckley. I forget the Gore's first name. You know, those debates on the firing line.
Oh, yeah.
So like that kind of a thing. Anyhow, okay. Hey, you want me to show you how to do the Zoom thing?
Yeah. And also, see, the thing I did today, the thing I did yesterday, the going viral, you can just load that up. Don't waste time editing it. I could send that to you. You don't waste time editing it. I just did it. I would have done it as a live stream, but I sort of started recording it, went right into it, and then ended it. So it doesn't have to, as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't, it was a self-contained thing. The thing today I did with Colonel David Glantz, remember that Colonel David Glantz got a lot of views?
No, I don't.
Well, if you
I
look at,
don't remember.
well, the numbers, yeah, David Glantz gets a lot of views.
Okay.
And that maybe I'll try to edit it myself because I can cut about 45 minutes easily myself
Yeah.
on the machine. So I could probably edit that and then send that to you in a day
No,
or two.
no. If once I show you how to upload to the internet,
All right. Well, why
to,
don't you want to do that now?
yeah, but I don't think
What?
I'm trying to figure out how to do this. Oh, let me show you here.
All right.
Can you see? You can't see the controls I'm using, can you?
No, I can't.
So I click on a thing that says more. You don't see that.
I don't see. All I see is the Zoom controls that I have.
Okay, so you go down to the thing that says more
Where does it say more?
on the lower right. There's a
Okay. Yeah,
circle.
more. Right. Correct. Okay.
Click that, a menu comes up.
I see. I just see more result notes, docs, captions. That's all I see. This is the Zoom stuff. I
Oh,
don't
because you don't have the right to
to do that.
right. So you have to be the host to live
Yeah.
stream.
Right. Right.
So how we could do that is, well, let me show you. Let me just talk it through. When you start an event, and I'll call you up and you'll do
Yeah.
it. When you start it, you click the thing on more, and you'll see a thing that'll say live stream. Okay.
All right, hold on a second. It's on the YouTube. It's on something you get because of the YouTube account.
You have to have a YouTube account to send this to stream the video to.
All right. So YouTube account.
Okay, so I'm going to call you up.
Maybe what I should do is look at some videos about this beforehand. Okay.
Oh
Maybe
yeah, all you have
that'd
to
be a
do is
simple way, yeah.
Google, how do I get a YouTube account?
Yeah.
And then Google
How do you stream?
Zoom : how do I stream to my
All right.
YouTube account?
All right. That's what I'll do. I'll do that. And
Yeah,
then I'll send you these things we did yesterday,
yeah,
and then you don't have to with the going viral one. Just throw it right up. Don't I mean, you make your own judgment. You don't have to really fuck around with that because I
yeah,
just soon start getting things up there as a presence, and then content is what drives these people. And the more I explore all this, the more I see that this is the way to go because you don't have to depend on anything with Pacifica. You don't have to deal with any of those assholes at all.
no, I know.
It,
Well,
it,
that they're not in it. It's just that they're motivated by an undisclosed allegiance to some organization. They're not there, or they're there to destroy Pacific or one or the other. But they're there to help the I don't know who,
Yeah.
the Seventh-day Adventists, whatever they're represented.
Right.
The same thing happens in Congress,
Right.
People are supposed to be congressmen, instead they're advocates for some
Right.
corporation or something. So I guess that's what's wrong with the
Well,
Pacifica.
all right. So what I'll do, Kenny, is I'll send that stuff to you, and then I'm gonna go right now and start looking at the YouTube videos. Okay.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Adios, amigo.
Take it easy. Bye.
And now ending the going viral for 30 July 2025. and there was a lot of new people. Bye-bye. Well, before I sign off, keep watching. Be interested.